Hey guys! Welcome back to the live feed super chat with Miles McInnes. Kind of a leading, I don't want to say I'm a leading revolutionary. I'm not the boss. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the boss, as she put it herself. But I think as far as the front lines go, I am definitely one of the top voices of the resist movement, at least that shows his face. There's a lot of people in Antifa who are behind the scenes who are more influential than I am, but I think I'm one of the most influential people in the resist movement right now. And if you check out my most recent video, Fire Tucker Carlson, you can see why. All right, let's go to our first paying customer. Not that I care. Actually, you know what? Because I'm a socialist, I'm going to read the first non-paying customer. Holy, he's here. That was a free comment. That person did not pay any money, and I don't care because it's not about money to me. All right, money one. Are you personal friends with Skylar Turden from Steven Crowder's Devil's Advocate? Are you ever going to make a video debating him or hanging out together? That's a good idea. I've seen that guy. I like him a lot. I can't tell if his mustache is real, though. But he seems like a really awesome person, and I would like to meet him. You know, it takes a lot of balls to be a left-winger within the conservative movement. I'm here with Ezra, who is a Zionist. My boss, Ezra Levant, is a Zionist. He supports Israel. Israel is apartheid. It is a Nazi state. And I am brave enough to accept checks from him and also support that BDS. I support BDS, and actually I want to start a new thing where it's called BDSM. So it's boycott, divestment, BDS, sanctions, and modify, meaning Israel has to modify their behavior in order to work with the Palestinians. So join me, if you will, with the new anti-Israeli movement called BDSM. All right, what else have we got here? Do all SJWs sit when they pee? Actually, that's a common misconception. We do sit down to pee in the morning, but at urinals we will stand. I tried sitting in a urinal, and I got chlorine on my balls. And that I don't mind, but it was very cold. And I don't think it's healthy to ingest chlorine. And the scrotal sac is one of the most permeable membranes in your body, next to your tympanic membrane, which is right here. So you don't want chlorine on that. Chlorine is behind the AIDS epidemic, by the way. Rowdy Proudy, $5. What is critical theory? Thank you for asking that. Critical theory is a revolution in education. And I think what we learned with critical theory is that the author isn't necessarily aware of his intentions. We learned this from Foucault. We learned this from Kierkegaard, even from Nietzsche. The existentialists and the nihilists taught us to sort of regurgitate everything we've been fed. And I'll never forget, we learned about The Sun Also Rises in English class when I went to Concordia University in Montreal. And Hemingway said that the book was about how exciting he found running with the bulls and living in Paris and Europe at the roaring 20s. And our professor said, actually, the book is about how mundane it is to be rich. And Hemingway had said it has nothing to do with that. He was actually wrong. You see, Hemingway's not a Hemingway expert when you engage in critical theory. Critical theory is about seeing things through a patriarchal paradigm that recognizes the hegemony of modern discourse. And it sort of unpacks things, if you will. And it sees things through more of a hierarchical engagement process that has sort of, if you can imagine a Venn diagram where all the intersectionality focuses on the oppression of cis white males. The oppression by cis white males. And I'll tell you what, the short version of your question is being woke. Because once you sort of peel back the layers of patriarchy, and you can see everything through a socialist perspective, and you can see how corrupt modern society is and how we've gone backwards and what the damage capitalism has done. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen Tom Cruise talk about Scientology. He's wrong. when he talks about Scientology. But if you'd apply that to socialism, he'd be right. And the gateway to the gateway to that kind of awareness is critical theory. I love you, brother. Tell me a story about you two growing up together. Did you fight? Yeah, we did fight. I remember when I was a young man, Gavin, he terrorized me. And I think one of the reasons I fight for equality now is because I was so severely bullied as a child. I remember one time he said, come at me, come at me. I had been taking Brazilian jiu-jitsu, taekwondo. It's called habokwambe. And it's a dancing form of self-defense, and his contention was that it's got nothing on boxing. So he would say, come at me, and then he would brace himself. So I would go charging at him from one end of the living room to the other, and then at the very last second he'd move, and my shins would hit our couch, which was a fold-out couch. So the front was made of iron, steel. And I would hurt my shins, and I would feel rage. And he would run to the other side of the living room, and he'd say, don't get mad, get even. Use that rage. And I would get even madder. And I would charge him again. And then again, he'd brace himself like I was going to hit him. So I was positive I was going to hit him. And then, boom, he'd move at the last second. And again, my shins would get nailed on the other couch at the other end of the living room. We had a large living room. And I remember the third time he did it, he said, use that anger. And then he quoted, I believe, John Lydon, who's a racist punk. And he said, anger is an energy. And I just remember screaming, I hate you, Gavin. And I went charging as fast as I could at him. And he moved again. My shins hit the fold-out couch for the second time, a couch for the third time. And I remember just crying and lying in a ball and just weeping and holding my knees. And you'd think at that time he would respect me and come over and when I went too far. And then he went closer to me and he said, next time you're in the mirror, I want you to take a long, hard look, and I want you to say, fag. And that's not an unusual experience for a little brother and a big brother. They use homophobic epithets on a regular basis when they're fighting with their brothers, and I don't think they understand it is domestic abuse. Child abuse doesn't have to come from your parents. It can come from your big brother. And I was child abused by Gavin. Did I mention their names, by the way? That was Eric Salberg. God bless you. I support all Jews except obviously Israel. No, this is Eric Salberg. What do AOC and Minnie Mouse have in common? They're both effing. He uses a swear word there. Thank God he used the @ symbol. They're both effing goofy. Minnie Mouse is not having sex with Goofy. Minnie Mouse is in a monogamous relationship with Mickey Mouse, which I think is kind of sad because they are a very unique species, and there's only about 12 sort of anthropomorphic animals like that in their world. I don't even know if there's humans in their world. I think their world is populated by maybe 12 people. So you'd think when you're that limited, you should be more polyamorous. Because I think there's Porky Pig, there's Pluto, there's Goofy, there's Mickey. I think Minnie Mouse is one of the only females in their universe. So I think she's sexually obligated to spread it around a little bit. But she doesn't. And that's unfortunate. And that's I think Disney is a great lesson on what's wrong with marriage. You know, there's not a lot of sex. And sex doesn't have to be, as we discussed last week, just because you're gay, I won't turn you away. If you stick around, I'm sure that we can find some common ground. I've never eaten out a girl with a penis, but I'm willing to try. I saw Vice, my brother's alma mater, had an interesting article about how to form cunnilingus on someone with a penis. And I would imagine you sort of get it out of the way and focus, or do you simulate labium majoris? Whatever you do, you don't just suck at normal. Will Redding, what is it like living, what is it like living in Gavin's basement? I am temporarily between jobs. My brother has gotten rich off of exploiting my people, the socialist movement. So in a sense, it's my basement. And the money that he loans me, is just a business transaction. And he will definitely get that money back as soon as I get employed. And I think One of the ways I can help get employed is if we had a stronger union here in America. You know, you had so many people fired recently from Huffington Post and all these other blogs like Vox and even more mainstream things shortly after they became activist journalists, and that's because of racism. And I think it's the government's job to step in and secure those jobs with blogger unions. Next, how do we get Defend Gavin taken down? That's a great question. I've been working on doing that for a while. I think the best thing to do is to find everyone involved and attack their families. Dox their families, attack children, attack wives. Vandalism is a really effective tool in the resistance. Whatever you can do without leaving your basement. Just, keep humiliating people, keep harassing them, keep harassing their bosses and relatives, keep impersonating them online. Just generally be a complete terrible pain in the ass from your basement. And if you're between jobs, you've got nothing but time. And I think we should use, as resistance revolutionaries, we should use our greatest asset. And that is we have nothing to lose. So while we can terrorize their families and make them unsafe in their own homes, they can't really dox us because we don't really have a home. And they can threaten to sue us, but we don't have any money. They can threaten to destroy our families and our children, but we don't have families and children. So we're in a really effective place by having nothing. And I think we should exploit that. Is your brother still going to fight Coppercab? Yes, he is. My brother is launching a new website that's going to be behind a paywall because he's a money-grubbing capitalist. And I think they're launching it with the fight. They're not going to make it public because one of the great things about the resist movement is we've made it impossible for my brother to announce anything or because the venue gets vandalized and shut down, which is awesome. So they'll have to do it privately, but they will air it behind a paywall. You'll have to pay, which is BS. I don't make you guys pay. In fact, to prove that, I'm going to read one that didn't pay. This is a guy named Duck Don'ts. And he said that Gavin guy sounds like a real jerk. We've gone beyond real jerk. The right presently is literally Hitler. You see, what happened was Trump. The Hitlers were everywhere. You know in Ghostbusters where that jerk, I don't know why they made the guy from the EPA a dick in the first Ghostbusters. If you're from the EPA, you're an awesome human being. But they made him a dick because they're racists. And he unleashed some sort of a portal in the first Ghostbusters. And all the ghosts came out and they were all like... And that is what Trump did with the Nazis. They were lying there in wait, and we had them trapped in the Slimer thing. And then after Charlottesville, where they murdered Heather Heyer. By the way, why doesn't anyone ever talk about Charlottesville? What about Heather Heyer? You know, they say that racism isn't alive and well. Yeah, I'll tell you what's not alive and well. Heather Heyer in Charlottesville. We should talk about Charlottesville more and Heather Heyer. So what Trump did is after that, he said, those guys with tiki tortured saying Jews will not replace us are awesome. He literally said that. And so the Nazis came out. What do we do about it now? We have to put them back in the box. And I think the solution is to punch them in the head. So if you see someone wearing a MAGA hat, you're seeing a Klan hood, and I think the best thing to do is just punch them in the face. Old ladies, black guys. Black guys are actually the worst. I think you should start with visible minorities in MAGA hats because they are turning on their own race. If you're right-wing conservative like Candace Owens is worse than the Nazis because she knows what it's like to be black and she's ignoring it. Do you want to control the questions there? Because then I have to appear like this. No, I don't think so. Tell Gab that his toxic masculinity, this is Preston Premier, his toxic masculinity triggers me and makes me Guess what, guys? I know what you're doing on the far right, even the alt-right. You are trying to make the right cool by saying and now you have your yang thing. There's an Asian American politician who was smart enough to guarantee everyone $1,000. He's anti-guns. And for some stupid reason, the alt-right has thrown a dart at a dartboard, and they've chosen to make him the big meme. Yang 2020. And you think that's cool to be funny. You memed Trump into the White House, right? Well, guess what? We're cool too now. We are bucking the original DNC. We're telling Aunt Nancy Pelosi to go fuck herself. Yeah, that's right, we swear. And we have radicals now. We have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We have Ilhan Omar. We have that other Muslim chick who won't shut up about impeachment. So we have our own kind of Pepe the Frog thing going on. We caught on to you. And I'm not going to lie, it was effective. You had Hillary talking about the frog. But now we have our own We haven't started it yet, but like when she goes, I'm the boss and stuff. I can't think of any exact Pepe meme type things. Oh yeah, we have the gritty guy. We have the Philadelphia mascot. We know what you're doing, and we did it back to you. We're going to win 2020 with that guy Beto, who's actually a punk. Eric Salberg. Haven't we already had him? Or was it another Jewish person of color? By the way, Jewish people are people of color. Except Israelis, they're white men. Except at Haaretz, they're people of color. Greater contributors to science, Stephen Hawking and Albert Einstein are to Al Gore and Bill Nye the Science Guy. That's easy. The thing about Stephen Hawking and Albert Einstein is they were pontificators. Like Stephen Hawking wrote I think the most bought and unread book in the history of time, and I believe it was called A Brief History of Time. Has anyone finished that book? In the history of time? Albert Einstein, basically all he said was, if you're in a car and it's going fast and you throw a ball up in the air, the ball will land in your hand and it will have traveled or something like that. That's the theory of relativity. Al Gore has pointed out that science has clearly said that within the next 10 years, the Statue of Liberty, you're just going to see the hand going like, help, and maybe a spike or two. Exactly like Planet of the Apes. That is waking up the world. I mean, if you check Adam McKay's Twitter, Adam McKay just did Vice, and he's done not my brother's company, but the vice president. And if you check his Twitter, it says, climate change is the only thing that matters. Yes, sexism sucks. Yes, transphobia is bad. But that doesn't matter if we're all living in Kevin Costner's water world, which is where we are headed with these melted icebergs. Why doesn't anyone talk about it? Money. The oil companies are getting too rich selling us cars. And Ocasio-Cortez has it right. We don't need cars. You know when I last rode a car? Not since probably 4 days ago, because I take the subway. Everyone in the country should take the subway. This is getting easy. All right. Uh-oh. Why won't my stuff move? Here we go. Sorry about this. This is not a good super chat if you're hearing me wander. Lots of questions, but they're not paying, which I don't care about. Why do you have to go up and down? I'll never understand that. When Trump wins, can you make a video of you screaming? To quote George Clooney, Trump is not going to win the election. Your only hope is that he doesn't get impeached before 2020. I promise you that Trump is out in 2020. Now, will it be Beto? Will it be Bernie Sanders? Will it be AOC? Will it be Ilhan? That I don't know. My gut tells me Beto as president and Kamala Harris as VP. Trump winning. I'll tell you what, just for fun, if Trump does win, we are going to come to your house and we are going to burn it down. Like Luke Kuhn said when Project Veritas was spying on him. We will come to your house, we will burn it down, we will kill cops, pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon, boom, 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 the batty boy him half he die. Well, that's a different thing. What do you think about Joe Rogan taking your brother out of context and saying he said to just hit people? My brother did say that. And who cares about what the context is? The only time you should hit people is if they're a Nazi. You should punch a Nazi. Now, my brother did say hit trans, and he was talking about a trans person who was antagonizing a Black MAGA supporter, and the Black MAGA supporter just kept taking it from the trans person, and the trans person just kept going and going and going until eventually the Black MAGA guy fought back, and my brother said you should choke a tranny. If a tranny is antagonizing you, I don't care about context. He still said choke a tranny. Context no longer matters. If you say the N-word, even if you're saying I hate the N-word and it should be banned, that should be banned. That's how much we have to fight back. Because racism is alive and well. Do you want the ghosts to escape from the thingamajig that folds down, that has the black and yellow stripes on it? With the thing, the handle that Dan Aykroyd had? Do you want that open? No, then avoid context and fire Tucker Carlson. Scrolling back up. I bet you smell like old coffee grounds, trash, Thai food, and cheap weed. Who would you rather have as president, Bernie or AOC? Long live Gav. I would rather have Bernie because he has more experience, but I would gladly take AOC. She's a bartender, by the way. You can have mixed drinks. I don't know why I said that. It's weird how the right always talks about how hot she is. They're so sexist they can't hide it. And you'll notice, by the way, they never talked about Hillary being hot. Double standards much? What else have we got? This is all repeats, right? Are we done?
No, there are these three.
Okay. What does this say? Why is Islam a religion of peace, yet Christianity is so oppressive and hateful? That's an easy one. Islam is run by people of color, and why are you breaking the fourth wall? Islam is created by people of color, people who have always been against slavery, people who have been feminists. Islam is a feminist religion. If you'll notice, Linda Sarsour at the Women's March, she would not allow women who were pro-life. That's because she's a feminist. And as a Muslim, like most Muslims, she respects a woman's right to choose. She also had Donna Hilton at that talk, who had sodomized a man to death, talking to LGBT people. That's because she's for prisoners' rights and aware of the oppression that prisoners face. That Donna had a very rough 20 years in prison, by the way, after doing that. They're also the most woke religion in that they are the most spiritual. And if you check a lot of the quotes, they say, be nice to people. There's quotes in the Quran where they say, hug people and defend the oppressed. There's a quote in the Quran that says, if someone's in trouble, help them. That's not in Christianity. Christianity, especially the First Testament, is basically just Zeus throwing lightning bolts at people, sacrifice your brother, bring me your babies. He wanted like some guy to give him his son. It's a very corrupt book. And if you look at the history of the West, especially the Crusades, you see unbelievable violence from Christianity. Like the Barbers. There was Muslims who were trying to do deals with various Christian women, and I think they were called barbers. I think they cut hair. And then America invented the Marines. This is before America was invented. And the Marines went and terrorized these poor Muslims. It was a sick and depraved time. And I think if you want to see how peaceful religion can be, you need to go to Pakistan and see the beautiful hills and the Taj Mahal and listen to the Qawwali singings of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. Ke hal chale yaar, tik tak, tika, khuda hafiz, pyari larki, zaiche. What does this one say? Posters. You got the post in the way. Hipsters have beards and low T simultaneously. How? I think that's because, first of all, I don't take it that we have low T and we are soy boys. That's all your terms. A lot of people have beards because a lot of men understand that men can be beautiful. And you can use conditioner in your hair. I think a lot of guys, you know, when they're working, their hair gets in their face. They have to use a top bun. And they go, all my hair's in my top bun now. How do I express myself? Boom. Use this, use oils. I use beeswax. And sometimes I use my own excrement. Not feces, but my own fluids. And sometimes I use menstrual blood. I was seeing a girl for a while who was using menstrual blood as face cream. And we both started using it. And then we used it to make banana cream pie, jelly flavored. And we also used it to make art. And I did a painting. I should probably get it. And it's her and I flying on a flying carpet to Pakistan's Taj Mahal. But it's done in period blood. Proud Boys Calgary. Show me your triggered face. Ugh. All right. Ready? Fucking. I had to blink at the end because my eyes were getting itchy. All right, what else do we got here? Keep getting these warnings coming up. I love your new glasses. I think that was mentioned in the last one, right? Where my brother said the quote unquote gayest. He uses the word gay as a derogatory term, and he uses it to mean lame. Being gay is not lame. Being gay is awesome. Look at Keith Haring and his cool paintings. Look at Andy Warhol. Look at that photographer guy, the black who liked black guys. Basically, look at all of fashion. Steve McQueen, or Alistair McQueen, or whatever his name. Alexander McQueen. Look at Alexander Wang. Look at Liberace. Look at Paul Lynde. Look at the Village People. Look at Freddie Mercury in Queen. So gays have contributed a lot to society. In fact, I do say the word gay. I say something's gay when it's awesome, including fellatio. Have you thought of starting a group to counter the Proud Boys? You could call them the shame people kind. That's actually not a bad idea, Primpal08. I like that idea. I think we should be masked if we do it. Because the beauty of having your identity hidden is that you can hit people in the head with a bike lock and not get caught. And a lot of the, like if you look at what happened to Bass Stickman, he's facing prison time, and NYC9 and all these other people who don't hide their face, you end up in prison. So if I did start a movement, I wouldn't tell anyone what it was called. And we would wear masks, and we'd throw piss on Lawrence Southern twice. Is there any color of wiener you wouldn't suck? That's from Owen's religious views are skewed, warped bear. No. And that brings up an interesting point. If you have any kind of preference on Tinder, then you're a racist. Love doesn't know gender. It doesn't know race. It doesn't know age, assuming it's legal. It doesn't even know ability. So if you see someone who's severely paralyzed, like even Stephen Hawking levels, and when they talk and they say things that you agree with, like, I hate the patriarchy, you should pick that person up from their chair, take off their little clothes, and then just like, I don't even know what the sex would be, but it would be beautiful. And there'd be music playing and put cream on them and stuff and move their little legs over to your legs and take their hand and maybe hook it on you and kiss. You'd have to keep the mouth thing hooked on so they could say their safety word. But otherwise, I could just as easily have sex with Caitlin Upton as I could with Stephen Hawking. And I don't know when I would ejaculate sooner because I respect both of them. So there's no rules with me sexually. There's no such thing as beauty to me. Everyone is beautiful to me, especially plus-size women. David Muir. Miles, can you tell me that your brother saying by the way at the end of every sentence doesn't constitute a Scottish accent, plus it's racist? Resist. I will mention that to him. I don't like the way he portrays the Scots. He tends to make them yell all the time and be drunk. We also see this with Willie the Groundskeeper. I was very happy when The Simpsons got rid of Apu. I thought that was very aware. But I think that we should continue that. I think that we should get rid of Willie the Groundskeeper because he portrays Scots as violent people who tend to have big red beards, who drink a lot, who like to fight. I've been to Glasgow. There's basically none of that. It's very hard to find a pub in Glasgow. And to get in a fight, I mean, you'd have to wear a blue scarf in an area where there's lots of green. What else do we got here? Preston Premier. What is that name, Preston Premier? Are you plugging the software? Or your last name's Premier? That's weird to be so into an app. To a film editing app. Isn't it? That's sort of like when potheads are all like, I'm a pothead. Is your identity the editing software you use? Anyway, I know Gavin is super mean to Ryan Katsu Rivera, who is two people of color in one. He's Japanese and Puerto Rican, and He's from the Bronx, so he's legit woke and dope. So I think it's amazing that Gavin likes to beat on him, up on him. Gavin comes from the whitest places on earth, England, Scotland, Canada, suburban Ottawa, and he's talking to a real-ass N-word with an A at the end, by the way, from the South Bronx, who's grew up with mostly African Americans. I think he's jealous of Ryan's legitimacy as a dope N. And when I say N, I don't mean the N word. I mean like and I don't use that word, but the way it's said in rap. I know Gavin's super mean to Ryan Katsu Rivera, that poor guy. I'm sure you were super nice to Ryan, right? Say something nice about him, please. I feel his depression is consuming him. Why don't you come over here, Ryan? Why don't you say something?
Hello. It's a pleasure to...
That's not a hat, by the way. That's his hair.
Yes.
That's the beauty of other races. Like, white people just have stupid hair that just sits on your head like spaghetti. He can make a weird nest out of his head. It looks like he's a 1950s Italian mistress.
I think
who's wearing some sort of a fur hat. What is that?
I don't know if this constitutes as a compliment, but it's very pleasant working with you. You're a lot nicer to me. And
do you speak any Japanese? Say like konnichiwa or something.
Konnichiwa. that's all I know. But
all right,
thanks.
Are you any gayer today than you were yesterday, Rowdy Proudy? I hope so. As I said earlier, gay is a compliment. If someone called me a faggot, I would say thank you very much. If someone called me a homo, I would say cool, I wish. If I was walking down the street and someone slapped me in the head with their dick, like they were standing on a stepladder, I'd go, thank you very much, man. I wish that was the kind of sex I had. Yeah. If I woke up and there was about 12 dicks on me, just laying there as some sort of a joke, I would say, how is this a joke? This is awesome. Thank you, guys. That was really cool what you just did. I wouldn't go, ew, gross. I go, awesome, dude. I would pet them like they were little mice. Mice friends, like in Snow White. Josh, with all the BBC, do you suffer from anal leakage? What's BBC stand for again? I thought that was the company that's helped taking down Tommy Robinson. By the way, great news still on Tommy Robinson. He's still headed to jail. He's still screwed for being a racist and mostly for contempt of court. Hey, Tommy Robinson, if you're listening, what did you think was going to happen when you filmed outside on your phone at a pedophile trial? Of course you're going to jail for a bunch of times and having several trials at the highest court in the land. Duh! You need an anti-Gavin sidekick. Does Ryan have a smart, straight, funny brother who can do good impersonations? Do you, Ryan?
No.
You could be my sidekick.
Cool.
I'm open to ideas. What else do we got here? Have I forgotten any? Maybe this thing is running its course. I imagine Yang and SOC as president and vice president. That's from Kane Fritch. That's a badass name. Kane reminds me of Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine in the membrane. Tim Kaine in the brain. Remember when Lin-Manuel Miranda did that rap for Hillary Clinton about the 10 things you need to do for Hillary? And it was like, number 1, you got to talk to your friends in Ohio and maybe flip them blue. Number 2, you got to talk to Tim Kaine. And then he does this thing where he's like, Tim Kaine in the membrane. Tim Kaine in the brain. It's fucking dope. Proud Boys Calgary. Why are Proud Boys such a big part of this? Proud Boys are a white supremacist hate group. And they are so corrupt and evil, they've even convinced blacks, people of color, to join them. And I assume at these meetings, the blacks are like sex slaves with ball gags who go on all fours and they become chairs that way. There's probably like a black guy on all fours and a white supremacist probably using him as a chair. And then there's another black guy on all fours and a white supremacist using him as a chair. And then there's like 2 black guys next to each other on all fours. And then there's a big glass disc that's like the coffee table that they put on those 2 black guys. Then they have their beers, and then black guys are bringing them beers. And every time a black guy gives them a beer, they go, thanks a lot, racial epithet. That's the context I would never use. Proud Boys Calgary. When I see Proud Boys Calgary, you know what I read? Racist Calgary. And Calgary is probably racist. Miles should tag out with Gavin versus Coppercab just for the laughs. I'd subscribe just to see that. Yeah, I'm easily entertained. Sue me. I will sue you. I guess that's possible. That actually would be kind of cool to see. I didn't mean to laugh. I wouldn't mind fighting. I wouldn't mind fighting my brother. That would be a good match. Are we done here? Jesus, it's only 35 minutes in. I'm going to have to start reading non-payers. Propopo fag. I am a Antifa, not get them Jews. I do not understand that. But I will say, in Antifa, we are aware of the joys of anti-Semitism. Preston Premiere. Premiere is my Xbox gamer tag. Awesome, dude. I want to say something. I am really impressed by how many young men are able to preserve their childhood and pursue video games. I'm a gamer myself, too. I play that Mario Smash 'em game. Smash 'em up, Bang Bros or something like that. It's really awesome, and I love the smashing and the mashing. And, you know, I was reading, a lot of people were really pissed about Will Smith being the genie in Aladdin. And most of them were adults. And I thought, that's really cool that we can preserve our childhood like that and give a fuck who plays a genie in a kid's movie like Aladdin. I thought, that's awesome. Because too many of us are willing to say goodbye to our childhoods. The way we have so many adults discussing Star Wars and what the Jedi means and whether they should cast this black stormtrooper or not is really, really awesome. Especially bronies and all these other Comic Cons. I read recently the average video game player is 34, and I think that's so cool. Because when I was young, you'd go to the arcade and you'd play Space Invaders or something, and then by the time you were 15, you'd go, I'm too old for that shit. Not anymore. We understand the merits of youth, and we pursue things like gamertag. Hold on, I'm not done with that guy. So that's his Xbox gamertag. And Xbox is a really awesome console that adults should play on and play their video games a lot. It's, you know, there's awesome games like Fortnite where you get on there with other people and you get to build stuff and you jump with like a gun and you shoot people. It's actually kind of badass. And it's therapy. I saw Dane Cook recently. He just got some filler and some Botox and he was on a show talking about how gaming is his therapy, and I think that is crucial. So guys, if you're out there, keep watching children's movies and keep talking about them and blogging about children's movies and keep wearing t-shirts that have superheroes on them and definitely keep playing fucking video games because that's awesome. Anyway, Preston Premiere, that's your Xbox gamer tag. Awesome. I'd love to see gamers on these super chats. Preston is my name. Gavin thinks gaming is a waste of time. What? The thing I don't get about that argument is people watch movies. It's just watching a movie, but you're in it. You're participating in the film. How badass is that? I'm sure you understand the true meaning it gives to life. Yes, I do. Do not go outside. Do not pursue chicks. Focus on the second world you've created for yourself where you're not a fat piece of shit and you're a super muscular, cool guy who like saves people and stuff. Will Redding. Does Ryan owe you money? Ryan owes my brother money, I assume. Ryan's been trying to get a lot more money out of my brother, and I think it's his Puerto Rican half. Not great at budgeting. In fact, the last time Ryan borrowed my brother's car, he got a $120 parking ticket because he doesn't seem to understand that parking in Manhattan is a bitch, and you never get away with parking illegally there. So he's got some growing up to do. But actually, that's one thing I admire about him. Because, like I was just describing, Ryan's a huge gamer. And he loves watching...
It's not true.
Well, you love playing video games. You play Red Dead Redemption. Or you're a bad cowboy. Or no, you're a good cowboy, right? That's badass. I love that you're a cowboy. Theo DeSusius. This is one thing I don't get, guys. You have fake names. And I'm supposed to say your fake name because you donated money. Who cares? Is it because you're building up that personality? I'm genuinely curious. I'm new to this. It's like a graffiti tag. Is that it? Where you want fame? Okay. So let's build up Theodusius. Theodusius. Last live stream you said you had a person of color working for you. Why would you help perpetuate the white supremacist paradigm of people of color having to work for white people. Whoa. Whew. That is a wake-up call. But then if I hired a white male, then I'd be perpetuating only hiring white males. That's confusing. Then if I hired a black woman, she'd be like my slave. I guess one idea would be I hire a black woman to be my boss. Like Vanity Fair, they did that. Or at Comedy Central, they hired a chick and they said, you're our boss now. Or at Vice, they did that. Shane stepped down and had a chick be his boss. That, I think, is the most equitable thing to do. You hire a chick to be your boss. Like at ABC, they hired a black woman or a woman of color to take over, and she fired Roseanne immediately. And the woman who took over at Vanity Fair turned it into more of a resist type thing. And their numbers have been going down, again, because the government needs to guarantee opportunities for people who fight injustice and speak truth to power. So, to be clear here, when the Huffington Post and Vox and all these other things started going full resist, progressive, awareness, Antifa, numbers started going down, they started getting fired. We need the government, we need a Bernie Sanders type government to step in and go, no. These guys are providing progressive information to the masses. They're countering the Fox News narrative. They need their employment guaranteed. And the woman at ABC who fired Roseanne, and the woman who took over Vanity Fair, and the woman who took over Comedy Central, and the woman who took over Vice, all these women need their jobs guaranteed. Because otherwise you can't do justice properly. Justice doesn't happen overnight. Like the New York Times, they would spend millions of dollars, and it would take months for them to get a Watergate type story. And now in this do or die type of environment, you can't do real journalism. So these people need their jobs guaranteed. And I applaud Justin Trudeau for giving $600 million to journalists. I think it's very unfortunate that right after that they turned on him and tried to persecute him just for breaking the law. Eric Sahlberg, I believe this is you back again. By the way, we appreciate all your contributions. I started a gay cowboy group called the Oklahomos. I believe that joke was stolen from Mr. Sjws, where the guy who plays SpongeBob eventually, after Mr. Sjws, he became SpongeBob. I think his name is Kevin Spenny or something. Anyway, sorry. That was taken from Windy City Heat. But it was SpongeBob. Yes, it was SpongeBob was in Windy City Heat with Scary Perry. My brother is obsessed with the film Windy City Heat. He says it's not only the best movie ever made, it is the greatest... What's his name again?
Tom Kenny.
Tom Kenny. It's the greatest thing ever made, and there Tom Kenny plays a raging homosexual in it, and he's doing a musical called Oklahomos, where he's encouraging Scary Perry to be part of it. Perry, of course, is a homophobe and doesn't want anything to do with it. So Oklahomos is an ancient joke, and I'm disappointed in you. Please support our fight against the Proud Bums. I like making fun of Proud Boys, but I don't like stealing jokes because that is theft. All right, what else do we got? Ryan, maybe don't work on a stupid, shitty drawing that some loser sent in, or is that your drawing?
It's my drawing.
Oh, sorry about that.
What are your thoughts on Michael Jackson?
What are my thoughts on Michael Jackson?
Accusers trying to ruin.
Accusers who are trying to ruin his legacy. First of all, I think if you look in the resist movement, the anarchist movement, and queer theory, you'll see a lot of positive looks at sexuality. Mika Rhodes was the head of Antifa Portland, and he recently had a very intelligent judge who noticed that Mika was trying to work on his sexuality. Now, Mika had quote-unquote raped several couples, underage boys and girls, sodomized them, forced them to perform fellatio, I believe. And that sounds bad on paper. And people say it makes Antifa look bad, but it's actually just exploring polyamorous behavior and discovering sexuality. Like Luke Kuhn, the guy I mentioned earlier who was going to burn your house down. He wrote some great fan fiction about the sexualization of 10-year-old boys. And Allen Ginsberg was very vocal about his support for NAMBLA's right to free speech. That's the only time I'm really into free speech, by the way. So I think we tend to have a negative look at children and sexuality. And I think that's a big problem with the evangelical Christian right. You know, they tend to suppress young sexuality. So I would have to watch the exact encounters that Michael Jackson had with these young men and see how consensual it was before I judged. And also, I think a lot of the reason they attacked Michael Jackson is because of racism, because he's black. And I think maybe that these two kids are racist. And that's something you have to look at every time a person of color is accused of something. What else do we got here? Can you not color in that picture, please, and just focus on this? I'm lost. Something's loading on your screen.
I didn't know you were.
Let's do a free one. Rin Bickman. Why do I have to read these names if they're just made up like someone on their keyboard? When I was young, I heard commies were everywhere. Guess what they are? I heard commies were everywhere. Guess what they are? That's a new sentence. Guess what they are? Maybe we should try to have the language at our disposal when we make questions like this. Communists are everywhere. Yes, McCarthy was right. And that's because communism is just. You know, there's a lot of socialists out there. Wasn't there? The cover of New York Magazine recently had a headline, a cover that said, "When did everyone become socialist?" which I thought was awesome. And by the way, New York Magazine sales have been plummeting ever since they started going red. And that's because capitalism doesn't like being questioned. The free market doesn't like someone having the courage to stand up for themselves. So you would be very surprised. And what I do is sometimes I walk into restaurants, especially cafes in the East Village or Williamsburg or Portland, and I'll just see someone, I'll just go like this. I'll go. And I'll see them look back at me and be like. And I know that if I had a call, like a communist call, that was like, "Auga! Auga!" If that was our call, we should get a call, by the way. And say there was a Nazi who showed up, like some old black lady wearing a MAGA hat, and I just was at the cafe and I looked around and I went, "Auga! Auga!" We would all get up and just pound the shit out of her. Wouldn't that be awesome? And then she'd be there all dead like some white farmer in South Africa, blood everywhere. And other MAGA people would see that and go, "Oh, I guess we should probably go back into the shadows. We should probably go back into the ghost box where we belong." There's going to be collateral damage in this revolution. And there's collateral damages in every revolution. And that's what the capitalist pigs love to focus on. They love to focus on Mao's 80 million, on Stalin's 40 million, on Hitler's 6 million. They love to talk about the dangers of socialism. But they don't talk about the trains running on time. You consider Eric Salberg again emptying his bank account. Do you consider yourself a rock enthusiast? If so, can you sing Back in Black? I think AC/DC are sexist. I believe they had a song about bums. I like big balls or something. So I don't support AC/DC. They were Glaswegians who were raised in Australia. But I'll try to sing Back in Black because you paid $5. Well, I'm back in black! I hit the sack! No need to get me back! I got 9 lives! Cat's eyes! And I'm back in black! And I want to be back! And don't let me loose because I'm a pow pack! And I get loose from the noose! Because I'm back! Yes, I'm back! I'm back! I'm back in black! Well, I'm back in black! Was this a Scary Perry shout out? Are you making fun of me? Seems like a Windy City Heat inside joke. And if so, I'm not a patsy like Scary Perry in Windy City Heat. Danny Neal, do you ever laugh? No. I remember I recently was talking to who's that comedian-ess with the curly hair, David Cross era, who's very political. Ginny Garofalo. I was talking to Ginny Garofalo a long time ago, and I said, "Hey, you should write an article about a comical article about how stupid conservatives are. And she said to me, she said, "Not now." She goes, "This is not a time to laugh. There's nothing funny going on." And that, I think, was the last day I laughed. Because I realized that we've got a lot of soul searching to do as a nation. We have a lot of fixing to do. We have a lot of awareness to raise. And only then can we laugh. Tell you what, remember when Trump won? When was that? 2016? And one of my comrades went, "No!" Me and her, who's at the beginning of all my videos, by the way, me and her, when Beto O'Rourke wins with Kamala Harris, this is what we're going to be doing. No! Yeah! 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 Johnny Broughton? Sometimes I wonder what these people's ancestors did. Like, I knew this chick named Winemaker. Sue Winemaker. It was very clear what her ancestors did. Or, Smith. But what the fuck did Broughton do? Anyway, what's it like being the Arnie to Gavin's DeVito? I'll tell you what. I like seeing him get tormented and deplatformed and depersoned. And he's so desperate now. He has to sue the SPLC for making fun of him. I like seeing someone get erased because it shows the rest of the country that hateful ideas will not be tolerated. When the Proud Boys were arrested, the Attorney General and the Governor and the Mayor, they all said hate has no home in New York City. And that is so fucking true. Like just today, there was a poster of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and someone drew a swastika on it with a marker. Can you believe that? Luckily, the news got on it and the police and the state police, and they are doing a thorough investigation to find out who scribbled a swastika on a poster in the New York City subway. Whew. And I think what we're saying is, when you are that filled with hate, we will crush you and slit your throat, you disgusting piece of shit who doesn't deserve to live. Be afraid of Ezra Levant. He intimidated cops. Again, Proud Boys Calgary. I'm sure he did. I love that. I love the sound of that. I hate pigs. You have to understand, pigs chose a job where they shoot black people for sport. Does that sound like the kind of job you want to have? I don't think so. And if you ever get pulled over by a pig and he asks you for ID, you just say that I'm an independent citizen and I do not consent to this search. And you can just drive away. You get their name and their badge number and you refuse to do anything and just drive. Same with when you see them on the street. If you're smoking a joint, you say, "Am I being detained? What crime is it, officer?" Get his name, get his badge number. Say you're a private citizen. And also, when they say you were speeding, say, "No, I was traveling. I'm not a driver, I'm a traveler. And I'm traveling in a vehicle." And they'll go, "Oh, nailed it." Okay, Josh, Gavin, which diapers do you prefer for people who suffer anal leakage? I would have to go with depends. They have they have a model that's technically for women, but it curves and it follows your hips. And even if you wear a bathing suit, people cannot tell that you're wearing it. And it absorbs any kind of problems. I don't know why I have a problem with anal leakage. I did have some pretty wild college days, but that doesn't justify what's going on here. I've talked to gays and people of color, and gay people of color, and they don't have close to the same problems I have. Gray Brain Zero. Do you prefer red pills or blue pills? I prefer blue pills because they are the DNC. Now, the DNC isn't perfect. They have dinosaurs in it, like Nancy Pelosi and Ben Carson. Is he DNC? We are going to get rid of the old guard. AOC and Ilhan Omar are the Antifa of the DNC. They are the paramilitary wing of the DNC. We are losing this old stodgy Joe Biden reputation, and we are going full on badass. Fuck the system, man. Punch a Nazi. As Tim Kaine said, whose son is an Antifa. Take it to the streets. We have to fight in the streets. When they go low, we kick them. When they're at the gas pumps, antagonize them. Go to their homes. Scream at their kids. torture their families, kick their grandmother in the cunt. Why not? Rowdy Proudy, I just flew back from a dairy farm and boy, are my arms expired. That's a joke my brother is very into about I just flew back and boy, are my arms tired. Various versions of that. I don't enjoy that joke. And why would your arms be expired? That implies that at a dairy farm, all the milk is expired. The milk is at its freshest at the dairy farm. So the place where your arms would be expired would have to be a place where there's lots of curdled milk. And I think you'll find the least curdled milk at a fucking dairy farm. Anyway, please pass the message to Gav. I have a feeling he'll say the same thing. I know he loves these. Also, Ryan should do an impression of you, Rowdy Proudy says. I feel like this particular super chat is sucking. So let's try to give them their money's worth. Ryan, why don't you come over here and basically try to do Miles McInnes? I'll even give you the hat you can put on your nest.
Hey guys, it's me, Gavin McInnes, Miles McInnes, Gavin's brother, and I like social justice and blue pilling people and just all around cool.
Okay, so we've had that done. Stephanie Subsinski. Can we? Why do Russian names, Eastern European names, have so many consonants? What is their beef with vowels? Have you ever noticed that? It looks like alphabet soup. Like her last name has one vowel. Subsinski. Oh no, I as a vowel, two vowels. Anyway, should I be childless because of the environment? Yes. If I get pregnant, should I kill it? The beauty of New York system and a lot of systems is that it's the woman's choice. And if you have a baby, the doctor will keep it safe after it's born, put it in plexiglass, and it'll have oxygen. And then the woman should sit down with the doctor and go, should we kill this? And I think maybe she says, like, I'm super busy, I have exams, or my husband and I aren't getting along, or I want to go to Burning Man. Then they would kill it. And the way they do that is very humane. I think they just like close its eyes and it dies. A very peaceful death too. There's this myth that you have to clip the spinal cord and do all this stuff. No, you just go like this. Same with abortions. You'll notice that the tongs that they use go like this. The tongs go up into the woman and then they separate. They go like this to the baby. And the baby goes to a deep, deep sleep. And then it breaks up. Like, you know when you put too much butter in pancake mix and it sort of it like decoagulates? That's what happens to the baby. It goes into a powder form and then it just goes into the bloodstream and she poos it out of her vagina. It's just like heavy flow. You could absorb most abortions with wings. So yeah, you probably should get an abortion if you're white. If I don't kill it, do I make the baby daddy suffer? Yes, you should. If I was a woman like you and I was a white woman, I would just dump the dad and then make him pay child support because it's free money for the rest of your life. And you can make it such that he's not even allowed to see the kid. And then just remarry, or don't remarry, you lose the child support. Get another boyfriend and then he has to pay forever for a baby he never got to see. That'll teach him. But one thing I should say, a lot of white women and Western women too, like if you're a black woman and you're really into America, you should have an abortion too. And if you're Asian and you're like a cheerleader and you love America, you should have an abortion. Everyone pro-West should have an abortion because there's too many of them and they're ruining the planet. But that's hurting our population. And I think the solution to that, so we can fill these seats and have people who can vote, is to open our borders. And not just to Mexicans who are great for labor. You know, as Kelly Osbourne said, who's going to clean your toilets, Mr. Trump? Also, who's going to pick our lettuce? But also Muslims, Syrian refugees, a lot of these refugees. I think Europe is going through a bit of growing pains, but eventually they will realize the beauty of Muslim refugees. Preston Premier is back again. This is like the 15th time. Can you instruct your best friend Ryan to upload the stream video to YouTube or his Patreon? By the way, I think it's cool and progressive he's begging for money. I also agree that it's really cool that Ryan Ketsu Rivera has a Patreon, which is basically like having a cup out on the street where you have maybe a little grinder with a monkey on your head. I think that's cool to beg for money, especially when you have all these other talents like editing and, you know, you can do comedy and imitations, but you chose to just hold out your tin cup. I think that's really cool and mature and has nothing to do with the fact that you grew up without a dad.
I make videos.
Yeah, you do. He makes videos at his begging site. And that's cool. But these are uploaded to YouTube. Please go to nohate.com. You can see last week's. You probably won't see next week because I have a feeling no one's going to want to do this again. JH, is everybody on this planet a tree planter? That's referring to my brother's book, Death of Cool, wherein he was a foreman who monitored tree planting sites. And he met a crazy man named Dr. John, an ex-professor from MIT, who had completely lost his marbles. And he was two people. He was several people, but he was Dr. John, the guy you met. Then he was also Snuggles the dog, who was portrayed as a sock puppet. And there's also the Nietzschean Ubermensch, who would yell at Snuggles the dog and say, "You are a bear and you eat in the garbage." And Snuggles would beg for his life. At one point, my brother ran into John on what they call the cutover. I tree planted too, by the way. That's one of the cool things my brother did do for the environment, was plant 100,000 trees. But John was so out of it that he thought he just landed on Earth. And so when my brother met him, he said, "Hello, what's going on with your land?" And John had done something very unusual. Say this is like 5 square miles. He had written in trees, So God, from up above, would look down and see the word John in the middle of a forest, which I thought was pretty cool. Gavin was not comfortable with it because he doesn't understand mental illness and helping those who are less fortunate. And so he said, "What are you doing?" And John said, I'm putting these in the ground." And he goes, "What are you doing?" And my brother said, "I'm a foreman. I'm monitoring the tree planting here, and you're leaving pretty large gaps." And then John said, "Is everybody on this planet a tree planter?" Because he was somewhat disillusioned, and he thought that he landed on planet tree planting. And by the way, I've heard Gavin say, "Is everybody on this planet a tree planter?" Maybe 10,000 times. That's one annoying thing about him, is he gets some inside joke in his head like, "I like your new sunglasses!" And he'll repeat it again and again and again and again, like a human soundboard on Howard Stern. And I don't like it. All right, we're out of time, guys. All right, last one. Again! From the gaming Xbox man, Preston Premier. CNN told me Gav is a KKK leader. Fact. And he gets with his cop pig friends, that is also true, and goes out hunting minorities for sport. I assume that's true. We must reform, Gavin. We don't tolerate intolerance. AC/DC voice is on point, by the way. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, here's what I want out of society. If we can just get cops to stop hunting black people for sport, to stop making it impossible for trans people to exist, to stop going up to people who are handicapped and rounding them up, and also to stop just putting Mexicans in cages for no reason. If we can stop those 4 things, or however many it was, then this country is on the right track. And I think the only way we can do that, not to impeach Trump, he's not worth it, but to get rid of Trump in 2020. All right, let's power through these. We're past the, what does that say? 103? We're 3 minutes past. Oral sex tips on how to be a man, working great. Any more sex tips? I wouldn't know. Keep going. How many Nazis have you slapped in your lifetime? I've actually never punched a Nazi because I don't get out that much, because I'm mostly doing it on my keyboard, but you can do a lot of damage with your keyboard. Your brother's holding that Native woman hostage. That's true. I cannot believe an American Indian tolerates living with a white supremacist. She must hate herself. Eric Salberg is back. Did Ryan jerk you off after you blew him in order to get his job? All right, that's it. We're shutting this down.